Episode titled Giant Evie. The day began quietly. Evie was playing in her room with her dolls, George was building towers from blocks, and Peppa was helping Mummy in the garden. Sunlight gently lit the floor, and everything seemed normal. But soon, Evie noticed her hands had grown slightly longer than usual. At first, she thought it was just overnight growth, but after a few minutes, her legs began to grow too, and she almost touched the ceiling. Evie was frightened but tried to calm herself. She sat on a chair, but the chair seemed too small under her weight. Every movement required effort, and her view of the room changed completely. Toys and furniture looked tiny. She noticed that the window was nearly at her eye level, and the door seemed unusually low. George looked at his sister with amazement and a little fear. Soon, Evie realized her growth was not stopping. Her arms and legs increased in size every minute, her hair slightly fluttered, and her body took up more space. She stood up carefully, and the room felt cramped. The furniture creaked, the carpet compressed under her feet, and toys fell to the floor. Evie felt a slight chill, as if something strange surrounded her and understood this growth was unusual and hard to control. Outside, George and Peppa tried to understand what was happening. When Evie looked out the window, she saw that the garden looked tiny. The trees seemed miniature, and the flowers appeared almost like toys. Her body no longer fit inside the room. Evie tried to move into the hallway, but the stairs were too narrow and the doors too low. She had to bend and move carefully. Hour by hour, her growth intensified. Evie could now see the entire house from above, while the neighbors looked like tiny figurines. She felt a strange tension. Her body was enormous, but the world remained the same, creating an eerie feeling. George watched his sister, trying to find a way to help, but nothing changed. By evening, Evie had reached nearly giant size. She stood outside, her head almost touching the roof of the house. The wind gently tousled her hair, and the leaves of the trees trembled with her breathing. Evie felt strangely alone and a little scared. The world seemed tiny, and she was enormous. She realized her growth was unusual and slightly unsettling, but not dangerous. Slowly, step by step, she learned to move carefully to avoid breaking anything around her. At night, Evie returned to the house, bending down to avoid breaking the door frames. George and Peppa looked at her in amazement. She smiled, though gigantic, and said she would return to normal height tomorrow. But before going to sleep, Evie noticed her shadow on the wall. Enormous, long, and slightly distorted. She realized this had been a strange day she would never forget. Episode titled Evie Ghost. It was a quiet morning in the Pig family house. Mummy Pig was making breakfast, Daddy Pig was reading the newspaper, Peppa was playing with George, and Evie was sitting on the floor with her toy. Everything was calm until Evie noticed a pale blue light under the storage room door. She walked closer and opened the door. Inside were old boxes and things, but in the corner there was a small glass stone. It glowed with a cold light. Evie picked it up, and the whole house suddenly became very quiet. She looked at herself and became frightened. Her hands were transparent. She could see the floor through them. Evie tried to call Mummy Pig, but her voice sounded far away. Mummy Pig walked past and did not notice her. Evie ran to the living room. Peppa and George were playing with blocks. Evie tried to pick one up, but her hand passed through it. The block only moved a little. "That's strange," said Peppa. "It moved by itself." Evie realized she had become a ghost. She was there, but no one could see her. She tried to hug Peppa, but she passed through her. Peppa shivered and said she suddenly felt cold. Then a whisper came from the storage room. "Return the light." Evie went back. The stone in her hands was glowing weaker now. A shadow appeared on the wall. It looked like Evie, but it moved on its own. The shadow pointed toward a small box in the far corner. Meanwhile, Peppa was already looking for Evie. "Mummy, where is Evie?" she asked. Mummy Pig and Daddy Pig started calling her through the house. Evie heard them and stood beside them, but she could not answer. She understood that she had to return the stone. The storage room had become longer than before. The boxes seemed far away. Evie walked forward until she saw a small box with a round, hollow space. She placed the stone inside. A flash of light filled everything. A moment later, Evie was sitting on the living room floor. Peppa was holding her hand, Mummy Pig was hugging her, and George quietly said, "Evie?" "Where were you?" Peppa asked. Evie looked at the closed storage room door. "I was here. You just couldn't see me." That evening, everything seemed normal again. But during the night, Evie woke up and saw her reflection in the window. It was transparent, and it smiled a little later than she did. And under the storage room door, the blue light appeared again for 1 second.